I don't know what Kia has done with this engine, but whatever it is, this does not feel like 368 horsepower and 376 pounds-feet of torque. As I will quickly demonstrate here for you. This thing pulls closer to something like a vehicle with 500 horsepower. There you go. But before we start this little review off on the 2021 Kia Stinger GT2 rear-wheel drive, let's go ahead and let's talk about the exterior first and some of the changes that they made for the 2022 model year. First of all, this is probably the last year that they're going to make it because, well, nobody bought it. You like to talk about it, you like to watch videos about it, but nobody's really pulling out the checkbooks, signing any credit apps, leasing, financing this thing. That's not happening. So they have to axe it. But regardless, some of the things that they've done here is they try to give the interior a more premium look to it, as we will talk about later on in the interior segment, but they've also made the obvious exterior changes. So the front fascia, the headlights, and most importantly, the taillights, okay, the main change that they made there is the entire taillight now lights up. It's no longer just like a reflector in the middle there. Whole thing lights up, looks incredible. And they made the quad tip exhaust slightly more enlarged. And speaking of the exhaust, when you put this vehicle into sport mode, it now kind of has like this adaptive exhaust, right? So when you switch it over into these modes, put into the sport mode, first of all, your bolsters immediately start to tighten up there when you put into the sport mode, and you also get a more meaty sound out of the exhaust. And it does make a difference. I do like the way it sounds. However, it's not obnoxious or annoying, which is great. And let me tell you something, this is a gorgeous automobile. People cannot stop looking at this thing. They don't stop gawking at it. They take pictures of this thing. You are an absolute celebrity when you're in this. Not to mention fast as hell too. Very impressive. But when you buy this car, you are getting near exotic car levels of attention. And it's not just that, okay? Everybody loves you in this vehicle, okay? There's this obvious Stinger brotherhood going on. So when I was driving around, another Stinger owner actually waved at me, which was nice. I appreciate that. So you got that little brotherhood going on, and also just normal people really love this vehicle. And as I stated in my other Kia videos, like the Carnival, whoever designed that new logo, definitely give that person a raise, no questions asked. And I like how it says Stinger in the back, kind of written out there in cursive. Keep in mind there's also going to be a Scorpion edition, nice little touch there as well. So you can look forward to that. But let's go ahead, enough of that, let's transition over into this drive. This motor, definitely the way to go. 3.3 liter twin turbocharged V6. As I mentioned, the numbers don't do this thing justice, because here's the other thing. You now have an upgraded 4-cylinder model producing 300 horsepower and about 311 pounds-feet of torque. Premium gas is recommended. And you might be thinking, oh wow, like that's so much horsepower, and the gap between the V6 and the 4-cylinder have now been closed. But don't let the number fool you. Like I said in the beginning, this thing pulls like something with almost 500 horsepower. So 0 to 60 remains unchanged. They still quote 4.7 seconds for this thing, but again, I think you would probably, even in the real world, manage to get about 4.4 seconds to 60. You have yourself an amazing 8-speed automatic transmission, okay, developed by Kia. This is near as makes no difference. It feels like the ZF 8-speeds that you find in the BMW, so really snappy, quick shifts. However, I do usually put this thing into the automatic mode. That's just kind of how I drive this thing, because, well, when I do put it into the manual mode, it just auto upshifts for me, so I just don't play with the paddles. It reacts perfectly in the regular automatic modes, okay, especially in the sport modes. It reacts really aggressively, no problems there. And the key takeaway with this is this vehicle is going to impress most normal people. And I'm not trying to put anyone down by saying that, you know, people who haven't driven too many crazy cars or fancy cars, you're not in and out of vehicles like a lot of the car reviewers are. Okay, you haven't driven like 10 million things. Most people, you get in this thing for the first time, your cranium is going to be blown away by this. Because as I mentioned, compared to its competition, none of the vehicles, none of the Euro cars, okay, your little M340i's, your 440i's, S4s, S5s, none of these vehicles have the same thrust that this car has to offer. All these cars might have the same type of 0 to 60 figures, etc., but nothing feels as quick as this vehicle does. Now, there's a couple of reasons for that, and I'll touch on that in a little bit, but I just want to let you know, this is one of the easiest cars to get sideways and slide, do all those crazy things with, right? When you have it in sport mode, take the traction control off, the stability off, you can absolutely just pull off crazy little stunts, impress people in it. You don't have to be a master driver. You know what this thing is doing at all times. So it sounds crazy for me to say that, but trust me, you can have a lot of fun. Like, it's approachable, that's the thing. Most of the time, I just find myself driving in the smart mode. That does a great job. But again, like I mentioned, if you want to go sideways in it, you can actually just put it into the sport mode, not turn off the traction stability, because I think what happens is they naturally kind of dial back the traction for you, so you can pull off little slides. So the car always has your back. It's not going to bite you. It's not going to sting you per se. So have fun doing that. You will feel like a rock star in this, especially if you get the rear wheel drive, which is exactly what I recommend you doing. Forget the 4-cylinder. I don't care how much horsepower that thing makes. I drove that exact same engine in the G80, the brand new G80. I'll leave a link down to that video. And it's a good motor, don't get me wrong, but again, the thrust is unbelievable between this and that engine. Like, you have to get this motor, or else don't even bother with the Stinger. You have to pay up for this. Try to get it in rear-wheel drive, but if you live up north, I understand, get the all-wheel drive. And like I mentioned, they're going to stop making this, so this might be your last chance to get it. Lease it, do what you got to do. Now, here's some of the detriments with the Stinger. Handling-wise, is it quite on the same level as the Germans? Not exactly, but for most intents and purposes, I'm fine with that, because that's kind of how they've been able to pull off this sensation, okay, this exciting sensation when you get on the throttle, that surging power that you feel. The thing with the European cars is they have really rock solid chassis, really sophisticated suspension. This has a McPherson front suspension, strut-based suspension, and a multi-link in the rear, which is fine. The thing with like a BMW or something is it might be quick, about as quick as this, but you don't feel it. Like, you really get pushed back into the seat, you know what I'm saying? You get thrown back into the trunk of this thing when you floor it. So that's the fun part of this. In the Euro cars, the S4s, S5s, that doesn't happen. Even the C43 AMG, you don't get thrown back in your seat like that. And it really becomes evident when you start driving this car really hard. And this car urges you to drive it hard. Okay? It has like this sporting edge to it. And the way everything is tuned, right? From the engine, the transmission, the way it just leaves traffic behind, you know, everything about it, you want to drive it really hard, really aggressively. That's exactly what I've been doing. And because of that, I've been getting like 17 mpg in this, which isn't bad. But when you start to hustle this thing through the corners at higher speeds, you begin to notice that the vehicle doesn't quite feel as precise anymore. You know, this car, for most of the time, it feels really small, despite it being about 190 inches long. This feels like a smaller car when you place it out on the road here. It's not a very wide vehicle. And that's cool. That gives it this sensation of nimbleness. And the steering wheel itself is kind of small, so again, kind of gives you that perception that it's a more nimble vehicle. And then you really start to tackle these corners at some speed here. You notice it kind of starting to dart around a bit. I do like these Brembo brakes. You have to get in on them, but they do offer some good stopping power. But when you really start to hustle this thing at some speeds, and you do achieve really high speeds quite rapidly, you can tell by that speedometer there, the heads-up display that this GT2 has. For some people, that little edginess might be fun in its own way, but for me, I would rather have the extra level of precision at those higher speeds, high cornering speeds that some of those European cars have to offer. That's the only place where this kind of, falls behind some of those more expensive Euro cars. Some complain that this is a $50,000 car. Yeah, this GT2 maybe, but you don't have to get a GT2. You can get a GT1 and all that stuff. Just get the base V6 for around 40 grand and you'll be more than happy with it. So yeah, this undercuts the European cars tremendously when you go with the non-GT2 trims. And the other thing is ride quality. So this is a Grand Touring car, right? That's what GT stands for. And you know what? It's a comfortable car, but the thing is, over the smaller bumps, okay, can manage to feel a little bit more jittery, right? You kind of feel those smaller bumps a little bit more. But at no point would I say that this is uncomfortable, okay? I would say that the BMW 440i, I'm talking about the 2019, not the latest one with the grill on it, where you can slide a whole water heater through the front end, right? That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the 2019. That vehicle with 18-inch wheels rides rougher than this car with 19-inch wheels. Okay, something to keep in mind. Larger bumps, okay, like railroad tracks, other large bumps, this absorbs those really well. It's really comfortable over the larger stuff. And when you're driving it more leisurely, right, it's not really a big deal, okay? All that stuff that I talked about, this car is really over-tired. You got these Michelin Pilot Sport 4 tires on, okay, these summer tires, really over-tired. That's one of the things that they've done, okay, because they softened the chassis up to give you that sensation, right? They kind of had to over-tire the vehicle to make up for the chassis deficiencies. And here's the thing, though. I know they know how to make a really solid driving car. I really like driving the Genesis G70. That's not a bad vehicle at all. And I'm talking about the 2019, not the latest 2022 that got redesigned. They know what's up. They know exactly what they were doing with this vehicle. In fact, this reminds me a lot of the C8 Corvette. That's kind of what this thing reminds me of. But anyway, even with the crazy summer tires, it's not insanely loud in here. You got double pane glass, so wind noise isn't really an issue. Only when you get on the highway, when you start to hear the kind of humming effect of the tires, but even then it's not too bad, and wind noise is almost never an issue. It's a pretty well controlled space there for those reasons. But if you're primarily a highway driver, you're really going to enjoy this. The way it just kind of annihilates everything, the way it effortlessly kicks down, picks up speed rapidly. It's a great straight line cruiser. And everything about this, the way it's tuned, like I mentioned, it's tuned for the normal person to enjoy it, okay? Not someone who's like this insane driver, right? Some people, okay, those forum freaks, don't freaking email me, okay? I know there are some modifications that you can do to enhance the handling of this car, like sway bars. I've heard that makes a legitimate difference. I haven't personally tried that with any Stinger, so I can't really comment on it, but there's a lot more mods out there for this vehicle, okay? Again, aftermarket support, go ahead, put your little intakes in it. Enjoy hearing the turbo motor, okay, if you're gonna have fun doing that. So in conclusion, just buy it, get the V6, put this thing on your driveway. I want you to slide it. I want you to put many things in here, a lot of people in here. Have fun with it. Have fun roasting all of traffic. Let's go ahead and let's transition over into the interior segment now. Okay, so now that we are parked, let's go ahead and let's talk about this interior. I've always liked the Kia Stinger interiors. They have a really cool look to them. I like the little aviation style that's going on. I like all the physical buttons in here. I like this silver center stack here, brilliant. I wish more manufacturers, including Kia themselves, would take advantage of this silver material and put it throughout the interior as opposed to some of that gloss black plastic stuff, right? You have these kind of stitching on the door panels here. You also have newly designed Nappa leather seats. This is the GT2, so you do get true Nappa leather, okay, the real stuff. And as I mentioned, you can adjust the bolsters in here. I think most anybody can get comfortable in here. That shouldn't really be an issue. I will say it's not a super wide cabin space. It is a little bit more constricted in that regards, and with its kind of sloppy little body that it has going on. Whenever I take corners in this thing, I always get kind of pushed one side or the other, and my knees kind of start bumping up against some of these harder plastics. But other things, they've given you this great 10.25-inch screen as standard with all the Kia Stingers, with Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, of course. And as far as safety features goes, you have things like blind spot monitoring, forward collision assistance, and lane keep assistance, all these things, right? They give you all that as standard, so very safe automobile. I love the flat bottom design of the steering wheel here with the paddles, but again, I don't really use these paddles because there's no point. The vehicle is just going to shift for me. But anyway, you got automatic headlights, automatic high beams. You do have the Harman Kardon sound system in here, and I personally think it sounds really good. You got wireless charging pad, USB, heated and cooled seats, a 360 backup camera, which many people have been asking for. So these newer model Stinger products do come with a 360 camera. The gauge cluster, easy to use. You got 180 on the dash. I believe the top speed on these vehicles is about 167 miles per hour, depending on the tires that you use. And the center screen, just like in every other Hyundai Kia product, really easy to understand. Most people want them to convert this into like an LCD screen. There's no need for that. I love the way that you have the physical tachometer, speedometer, and a clean screen in the middle. I think it works great. And all the technology in here is so approachable. That's the best part about Kia. They load these things up like a flagship vehicle, but none of this is hard to digest. Most people can get in here and it's easy to use. As far as storage space goes, you definitely have decent space in the armrest area as well as in the glove box. Well, in this case, the books are taking up all the space, but regardless, practicality shouldn't really be an issue. You got 2 cup holders. The door pocket space is also pragmatic. You have one-touch automatic windows for all 4 windows here, double pane glass in the front like I mentioned. And visibility in here is also great. You can really get comfortable in here. Many people complain about the visibility out the back. I have no issues with that because the side view mirrors do such a great job. Let me just mention the sunroof in here. You have a slightly larger sunroof than average. It's not quite a pano sunroof, but it's larger than normal. So I think most people will like that. Now onto the back seats here. It's a more low-slung vehicle. Getting in and out, okay, you do have to watch your head if you're a taller individual, okay, because the rear is kind of sloped back there for that style, that swagger, right? Adults 6 feet and under should not have any issues sitting back there. It's not a gargantuan vehicle, but it's practical enough. You can definitely fit 4 adults back there. The center has a bit of a hump, so definitely for 4 adults shouldn't be an issue. You have some vents back there to play with, and the leather quality continues to be excellent back there as well. Let's end off with the trunk here. The trunk is massive. One of the big highlights here, you don't need an SUV. This thing can swallow up just about anything. I put a extra large Home Depot cardboard box back there, which is a massive box, mind you, and it fits in here perfectly, and you can close the hatch, no problems. You do have to remove that little tonneau cover, but other than that, you can fit almost anything you need to, and you can fold down the rear seats 60/40. So very simple, and also you have a spare tire back there as well. So conclusions on the Stinger. I always had a soft spot for the Stinger. I've always liked this thing. I always loved how people react to it. This is the least douchebaggy vehicle sold on the market today. People love this. There's like this brotherhood thing going on, Everybody just respects it when they see it out on the road, And like I mentioned, people are taking pictures of this thing, especially in this high chrome red, whatever the hell they call this thing. It looks stunning. It's really eye-catching. The red Brembo brakes on it, everything just adds together. I forgot to mention the 19-inch wheels. These are brand new wheels. They look incredible. So enjoy that because it does add to the look. And I'm a car reviewer, so I get to experience just about everything, much the same with like the C8 Corvette or something like that. I didn't really appreciate driving that vehicle, but I know for a fact that most normal humans, when they get into vehicles like this, the C8, for the first time, they're gonna love it. They're gonna be blown away. Vehicles like this look great on paper, and that's really the only thing that most people have to go off of. To most people, this is gonna be great. And I think most people are genuinely gonna have a fun ownership experience with this. It's going to be super practical. It's going to have all the cool little features and gadgets so you can play with that. And there you go. That's kind of my look at the Kia Stinger. I think it's a buy. Take advantage of it while you can still lease it, finance it, whatever, take advantage of all the good rebates. So thanks again for watching this video. Take care and goodbye.